So hi everybody, I'm Truszkowski. I'm working at BNP Paribas Security Services on the T2S project, of course. I'm also a member of the change review group, and where we have a lot of debate about change requests, but also about the testing and migration. So let's start. So I would say to answer to Mehdi's question that our main expectation is to meet T2S deadlines, of course. So the key milestones are already identified. First, October 2030, I would say, with where the DCP have to confirm on a non-binding manner their intention or not to become a DCP. And of course, June 2015 with the first migration wave in T2S. So even if it's in 2 years, we need to have concrete elements about to prepare the migration and the testing, of course. So what does it mean? We need to have a clear view on the role distribution, I would say, a clear schedule, and also clear testing scenario. And we have also to take into account that with T2S, there are numerous stakeholders which will be part of T2S and which will provide many different services. Of course, there will be 23 CSDs, 18 NCBs, and many users with different roles. So there will be some custodians, some issuer agent, some payment banks, and some clearer. And they will be able to connect on two manners, either on ICP mode or DCP mode, and potentially they are acting in several European markets. So what does it mean? So it means that for each different role, I would say, they may have different testing cases, and which could be multiplied by the different countries where those participants are acting. And last point, that as user, we enter lately in the different testing phases. So what does it mean? That we need some concrete elements before that to anticipate the testing phases, the migration phases, to be able to manage our own internal tests. So concretely, it may be, for example, the need of sample messages to be able to test the connectivity aspect, or some concrete examples, I would say, based on the business process description that we had before. So, finally, it's an urgent matter to be ready, and it's now. And what can be the solution to be ready on time and to meet those famous deadlines? So our first idea is that we think that we need to have a standard business scenario. So we have to identify the common testing requirements. So we have to have a necessity to optimize, to standardize the different testing scenario, such, for example, to have hand-to-hand testing involving also security sides, but also cache sides. Start to think about the business contingency cases, migration rehearsal, etc. But we think that it's a key to harmonize, to optimize as much as possible the testing phases, but also the migration phases. Why? Because we think that it will avoid to have unnecessary complexity in the test cases, and also to avoid to have huge costs. And then how we can do that? It's to have constructive discussion with CSD and NCBs to build those common requirements. So there are two parts, in fact. So the first I mentioned about the standard business scenario, and the other important aspect is the major for us topic is about connectivity. So how to send and to receive messages with the new format, with the new ISO 20022 messages, especially when you are DCP. And we expect that there will have some specific requirements for DCPs also on both parts, cache and securities. But for now, we think that we are missing some details. We have a lack of visibilities on what we have to do as DCP, what CSDs expect from us. The other concern is about the migration, and we assume that users should have a limited migration workload. So we have identified two major points. First one is about the auto-collateralization. And we think that as user, we should have the possibility to centralize as much as possible our cash setup in our national central bank, even if our national CSD has not yet migrated in T2S. Of course, it will avoid for us double migration and things like that to manage. The other points that is, we think that we have to keep the migration as simple as possible, in fact, and limit the number of stakeholders involved in the migration. So what does it mean? Maybe as users, stick to our CSD to manage the migration. Even if we are DCPs, because we will have already the certification from UCB and from the CSDs, and so work together with our CSDs to optimize the migration phase, I would say. Just because we estimate that we can anticipate the migration of the static data. And then on the migration weekend, we will have to work on the pending instruction and just to check if they are all migrated in T2S finally. So all parties have an interest to conduct constructive discussion with CSD, NCB, and other participants like CCP, etc., to build finally common requirements and allow an efficient reporting on the preparedness of the participants. Of course, it will avoid redundancies in the testing and migration process. So, from the last perspective, in our client view, we consider that we are in the middle of the chain, so between the providers, so the different market infrastructures, CSDs, NCBs, CCP, etc. So I express my expectation from their part. And then from what I'm going to bring to my clients, so I will use, in fact, first my long track record on testing and migration for major marketplace projects such as EasyS migration, Target to Cash, or even MIF. And so what does it mean? It's that we have already procedures, tools in place to allow us to be efficient and to make a smooth migration for our clients. And the other point is, as I said before, for us the reporting will be key in those two phases, testing and also migration. And we have to find a way to produce an efficient reporting. So, and the last point is that to be simple as possible, we think that we need a single point of contact, of course, for testing and migration, to ease the communication between the different parties. So, I would say to finish that anticipation, harmonization, simple way of communication with a tight and central follow-up from the ECB, a single point of contact should ease the migration and the testing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Maybe you can join us here.
Thank you.
Even, do you have any question for Caroline? No, not from the floor. I have a question for you from one of the few received on Twitter. It's you presented yourself as a DCP or potential DCP, yeah. And some have referred to the DCP forum earlier. So the question is about how many potential DCPs we expect in the category that we called full DCPs. So
I don't know exactly the number.
How many are represented now in the DCP forums?
I guess that Marcelo, City, Deutsche Bank, I think, no? 16, yeah.
16.
But I think that there were, from your first questionnaire, there were only 5 or 6 DCP which declared the first time. But as you said, that this is a non-binding manner, so some parties are thinking about it. But
thank you. Maybe to try to answer one of the points that you are making in your presentation, so you are stressing the harmonization element. Obviously, we are very happy whenever we hear this term of harmonization. We are doing a lot in the functional area about this, and we are very happy to follow the same principle for testing and migration to the extent possible. To the extent possible, it's not unfortunately possible to implement it fully because there are some differences from one wave to another, and each wave will have its own challenge. Wave 1 will be a big challenge because it's the first one. So obviously it's not easy to implement. So it's and we will see what is the view of a CSD from wave 1 soon in the panel discussion. Wave 2 is also a big challenge because it's the first wave still that will be migrating while we have already something in production. So it's a new situation that we'll have to handle. Wave 3, its challenges, this is my own perception of the challenges of the 4 waves, is the fact it's the biggest one in terms of volumes. It's largely the biggest one in terms of volume, and when we are mentioning this morning about it, exactly the fact that a weekend is too short for a T2S migration, this is mainly connected to the wave 3 volumes. Sorry. Wave 4 has, I think, also its own challenge because it's the biggest one in terms of number of CSDs and market migrating. So you'll see that we are trying to split the risk, but still for each wave we will have a totally new situation and a different challenge to tackle there. Maybe one additional question to Caroline. You made parallel with some previous experiences, such as the ISIS migration and other markets. In terms of yes, the question is also. I mean, Dimitri, you can answer it as well. But if you have to. Not ranking, but to give an idea about the dimension. So it's, you have gone through this ISIS migration, which indeed was a migration to a new settlement platform with multiple markets. and now we have the T2S migrations. In terms of challenge, so is it comparable? Is it a totally different dimension? It's to what extent these three markets are benefiting from this experience of EASYS migration?
Well, I'm not a panelist today, but no, indeed, I think that have gone through this such migration actually is really helpful in terms of identifying what would be the potential hurdles and so on. I would say that the migration to T2S is probably even more complex for each wave than it used to be for EASYS because of mainly the number of actors involved. I think that in terms of complexity, functional complexity, there are probably a number of topics such as handling the cross-border activity and so on, which may be, difficult, but that's something you can test. I mean, if we test sufficiently, most of these risks can be covered. That's also one of the reasons why we said we should not be too optimistic about the timing between the waves, because it takes time to do it with as less risk as possible. For me, what is really the risk is functionally you can test, performance you can test. What is tricky is the migration weekend itself and the number of actors involved into this migration. And that's why actually we welcome the statement whereby, be it ICP of course, but also DCP, that the approach for migration should be risk-driven. We should do whatever is possible to reduce the risk. And one way to handle that is to reduce as much as possible the number of actors involved. It's a discussion we had in the DCP forum one of the previous times. And indeed, the idea of trying to shield as much as possible users from the migration, of course, when there is a need to get reporting to do the reconciliation on their own legacy platforms, well, that needs to take place. But there are places where we can, by selecting certain approaches, where we can say, well, we can do it with less parties around the table, and that should be, for me, one thing that we should go for when that's possible.
Thank you. Caroline, you support apparently this.
We agree with Dimitri. We have to limit the number of interlocutors during the migration phase, of course.
The first time that I hear a DCP happy to be excluded from something, but.
Hello, good evening. My name is Javier Martinez. I am working for the Target 2 unit in Banco de España. The first thing that I have to say is really special to stay in this stage. In this square meter is special. I would like to tell you good news about the euro and things like this, but I don't know yet. Well, the first thing is to define which are the actors in T2S. These actors are defined in the framework agreement and also in the user terms of reference, that is or reference document in the user testing group. And we can talk about the following actors especially to interact with from the point of view of the central bank. Is the T2S service desk or the T2S operator, the T10 support and coordination team in the T2S program office at the ECB, the CSDs, of course, and also the national community of each central banks that in T2S are called payment banks, but in the working group Target 2 of T2, we prefer to call them GCA holders. And of course, even if they are not included in the slide, it's very important the cooperation among the CBs themselves, as we will define by our own some specific issues, for example, the registration forms to capture a DCA in the system, or to define a subset of test cases and test scenarios that will be validated by the central banks. And what we expect from the T2S service desk. The T2S service desk mainly will give us his support during the user testing execution phase, as they did in Target 2. From them, let's say, we expect, for example, to receive some support in case of an incident or in case of a problem, or to help apps to understand, for example, the result of a test case, or to clarify some points in the UDFX, for example. And the T2S service desk, we have a lot of experience working with the T2 service desk, and they will run this service desk following the same general procedures and principles. So for us, it's fine because we can benefit from many years of work together since the beginning of Target 2, more than 7 years. And regarding the testing support and coordination team in the T2S at ECB, they play a very important role to coordinate all the activities in the user testing subgroup because of the number of actors involved. As we have said, there are more than 40 actors, and especially for the central banks that we don't have so much experience in the target in the securities world, it's very important to guide us a little bit in this new world for us. Basically, the T2S team is working really very hard. I have to admit it. This is really a fantastic job. Following to the next slide, what we expect from the central security depositories. First of all, we have to collaborate during the whole procedure of all the testing, but especially we want to receive their support during the multilateral testing, especially for the functionality of the auto-collateralization. It's the first time that we are going to work together in T2S, and in this case, they need them to send some settlement instructions. Moreover, in case that we identified some specific business that are really relevant for the market, for example, the monetary policy operations, we should agree on a date to start, for example, the testing with our local or in general with the CSDs. Moreover, when we are registering the users in the static data of T2S, there should be a coherence between the registration of the CSD participant and the registration of the payment bank because of some functionalities, for example, the credit memorandum balance in which the BK is checked. And of course, for that, we need to have a good collaboration with the CSDs. Also, I think it's quite important, at least from my personal experience, to give our users a global perspective of what is going on from the security side and also from the cash side. For example, I can give you some examples. In the National User Group of Securities, our project manager always plays an active role, and he gives a short presentation of what is the most important things that we are doing in the cash side for them, and our point of view on T2S. Also, for example, in the info sessions that are organized by Banco de España, representatives from Iberclear are uninvited and they assist. And for example, also this collaboration happens also at the level of the groups in the European Central Bank. Recently, there was a common joint meeting between the working group, the entities in the working group of Target 2 and the securities experts with the presence of the central banks and the CSDs to align, for example, the time schedule of T2S when it is connected to T2. And finally, central banks and CSDs must elaborate a plan for the management of crisis and also business continuity operational procedures. This is a task that we have to do together. And I think this is the most interesting part for the users. Before, Catherine and also Dimitri Patin has defined these stages more precisely. This is a high-level information, but basically what a DCA holder has to do is, in case they have a direct connection to T2S, because they are using the graphical user interface, or because they are sending messages in application to application, they must be certified by Eurosystem regarding connectivity. It's not precisely, it's not only connectivity, it's what we call extended connectivity. And for this, they have to be previously registered in the static data of T2S. Moreover, the DCA holders need the authorization of the central banks and CSDs, and from their perspective, this test will be interoperability test. The test that they have to fulfill depends on the functionalities that they have planned to use in T2S. And for us, for the central banks, it's very important that here we have to test the changes in T2 for T2S. More or less 1 year ago, the central banks were consulting this to the payment banks and the settlement banks in Target 2. And basically, Target 2 offered the core functionalities. The core functionalities basically to send liquidity transfer from T2 to T2S, and also value-added services. So in case an institution has opted for the value-added services, we will ask them to perform this type of test during this testing stage. And finally, we have also the business day testing, in which what will be assessed is the behavior of a wave as a whole, taking into account also the already migrating waves. And basically the difference, as it was already mentioned this morning, is that during the business day testing, we will run the same time schedule that we will have in production. And also for the community and business day testing, we will test all the business continuity procedures and also the crisis management. And finally, the central banks will support, as is obvious to their communities, through the National Service Desk for Target 2. At least in Banco de España, we have planned to be the single point of contact for T2 and T2S, especially because for us, both worlds are really interconnected. And basically, this is all from my side. If you have any question.
Thank you very much, Javier. Any question to Javier from the floor? Maybe you can come back with us, in any case, if you are done with the presentation. Questions to Javier? No, so then I will be the one asking the question again. So but Caroline made the parallel with ISIS. You referred to Target 2, so this was also a challenging migration. If you had to make the same exercise as Dimitri and Caroline and try to put these two migrations next to each other in terms of challenges and dimensions, how would you position them? Do you expect it to be similar or more difficult with T2S first? And please, let's start with this first. And
I mean, if we compare the transition from the Target to Target 2 and the legacy system of the CSD to the T2 securities world, at least for the cash side, it is an easier task to migrate to T2S. That's for sure. Because somehow we expect that the users will receive a lot of services provided by the CSDs, in the sense that there will be indirect connected participants, and moreover, the services that the central banks are going to provide in T2S are already defined in the changes of T2. This is the services that the Eurosystem, the central banks, are going to offer, are already incorporated in the adaptation of T2 to T2S. And basically, what we have changed is thinking that the institution should have of the tools that they need, at least the basic tools. And also one question that I will mention this that we received from our national service desk is the issue of, because Banco de España is going to migrate in the 2017 on February, some institutions are worried about how to combine this with the migration to the ISO 20022 in the Target 2 system, because there are not so many months of difference. And for this reason, it's also important for us that they anticipate what they want to do in T2S, because for them, the migration to T2 will have a big impact depending on the solution that they can prefer.
Maybe another question. One point that you stressed in your presentation is the collaboration that is needed between the central bank and the CSD, and you gave us some hints about the specific collaboration between Banco de España and Iberclear. So I've seen Yolanda, I think, in the audience as well. Can you tell us more? I mean, one of you two about this collaboration between Iberclear and Banco de España.
Yes, first of all, we have to, let's say, to agree on a common plan. But at least we have to distinguish, let's say, the part of the central bank and also the role that Banco de España is going to play as a client of Iberclear for the collateral management system. Regarding, let's say, the part that we have to consider when thinking Iberclear as a system entity and Banco de España as another system entity, first of all, we have, for me, the most important thing is when we can start the auto-collateralization and how we are going to define this. And secondly, how we are going to communicate this to your users in order to be consistent and to make them aware of what is going to happen. And finally, of course, we have to test the applications of Banco de España as a user of Iberclear, but it's a very special user because at the end we control more or less the liquidity through the monetary policy operations, and there are some specificities in Banco de España that goes, I think, a little go beyond the specificities of some other institutions. And also, because I forgot to tell you, we were expecting a lot of things from the testing and support and coordination team, but it's also fair that the central banks have also their duties that basically, and to summarize, is to communicate what are the testing planned and to execute it. And the execution of the testing plan will be control, monitor, or whatever by the ECB with the support of the testing support and coordination team.
Thank you, Javier. Yolanda, you would like to add something? No? Okay. Any question to Javier from the floor? Yes, please. So, yeah. Third row.
Thank you for your presentation. I'd like to
I have the feeling that it does not work, so we can... Yeah, this one works.
Thank you for your presentation. Xavier, you said that you expect that DCA holders will have direct connection to T2S. So do you consider the target 2 access in the core functionality as a direct access already, or do you expect them to have another type of connection?
Well, what is covered in the core functionalities basically is the liquidity transfer from T2 to T2S. If you don't pay the value-added services, the liquidity transfer from T2S to T2 must be performed directly by the user or by a third party that has been authorized by them. Moreover, it's also important for the A2A connection if you would like to receive, for example, the notifications from T2S regarding the settlement in the cash side, in the DCA. In T2, we have the notifications MT900 and 910. That is the one that we have for the, let's say, the interface model. If you are interested in receiving the same notifications in your institution, you should subscribe to the specific message in T2S and receive it directly through the national service provider in A2A.
So this will be a prerequisite to opening a DCA with Banco de España? Something more than the core T2 functionality?
Of course. In order to interact with T2S, you need a DCA account that will be opened by us, basically. And it depends of, from my point of view, if, for example, your institution is a multi-country institution and you open a DCA in another country, it has nothing, it's nothing for me. I mean, it's totally, a DCA is a prerequisite. And for this, we have to create your payment bank in the static data and so on.
Okay, thank you.
So good afternoon, everyone. I am Paolo Pacei, and I work in Monte Titoli. And by the way, I'm also the test manager for T2S. Our presentation is a bit short, a bit concise, if you want, because we were told that we had just very little time to go through it. So we summarized everything with concepts that we will explode if you want, and if you have queries on it. So the first question of Mehdi was, what is our expectation towards our interlocutors? And to answer this question, my idea was first to think as to what means organizing a test. So to me, organizing a test means to define which are the objectives and the constraints of the testing, define which is the test base, which includes the data, the tools, and the environments, define the test plans, execute the test, and monitor and report the test results. So starting from this point, which is the basis for every tech guys working on testing probably, I think that the answer is that the interlocutors for us are involved in the definition of each of these deliverables. And this comes from the consideration that each of these deliverables has a twofold side. One is towards T2S and one is towards the community. So I can define objectives and constraints which are in line with the terms of reference, with the framework agreement. But also I would like to take into account that the community might have objectives and might impose constraints that I have to absolutely take in consideration if I want to make sure that the community is ready at the end of the user testing period. The same for the test-based definition. So of course, data, tools, and environments are provided by the T2S operator. And I think we are quite fine with what has been provided so far, but I can't hide the fact that the more requests will come from the community in order to be able to conclude the testing effort. And that goes also for the other points. Definitely one of the trickiest points would be could be the monitoring the test results. And one of the heaviest points in terms of workload might be the reporting test efforts, reporting test results. So on this, I'm counting on the fact that we will put in place a lean process with the ECB, so that our workload is reduced to the, let's say, acceptable part of it. On the other hand, being in phase one, I'm a little, I wouldn't say worried, or not yet, on the fact that monitoring the test results and identifying exactly defects could be quite a challenging part for all of us involved in this. So as counterparts or interlocutors, as you want to call them, of course there is the CSD, there are the other CSDs, there are the central banks, there is the T2S operator, there are our clients, but also there are the service providers. And with service providers, we mean all those institutions providing the applications to the banks, which sometimes are not always kept aligned by banks itself. So I don't think that we can reasonably complete and make sure and say that we are successful if we're not sure that service providers are exactly on board with us. So I was very concise. So if you have questions, till I'm here. Otherwise, I pass it on to Fernando for the migration part. And then, anyway, the panel will continue. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Fernando Gilardi from Monte Titoli. Monte Titoli is part of the London Stock Exchange Group. I'm responsible for the migration activities in Monte Titoli. And I will start from the center of this green flower. And why? Because migration is not simply a technical matter, but as we have heard this morning and also this afternoon, migration is a business matter, mainly. So, actors. You already know who are the actors in this migration process, who are the T2S actors, but still I would like to make a list. We have got CSDs, we have got central banks, we have got T2S. T2S, if you think of T2S, T2S has a lot of different souls, a lot of different roles, because we have got the program office, we have got the governing bodies, we have got developers, we have got the 4CBs, we have got and so on and so on. Really a lot of people at the internal of T2S. Then we pass on to clients, and clients seems a simple concept. It's not. We have got market platforms, we have got CCPs, we have got global custodians, we have got banks, small, big, middle banks, then also banks and global custodians have their clients that may be involved either directly or indirectly in the T2S migration. And then we have got service providers. Service providers, as an example, network service provider, but also IT service provider for that works for CSDs, that works for central banks, that works for the ECB, that works for the clients, meaning the banks. Okay, so it's really a complex, and every one of these has dependencies. So it's really a complex matter, a complex thing. Then we can start at bottom right. So migration is a complex task. How do we tackle this complex task? Knowledge. Knowledge is fundamental in order to avoid or to reduce complexity. Knowledge of what? knowledge of the T2S world, of the T2S functions, of the T2S processes, knowledge of the service offering, like Dimitri said before. So everyone, meaning every actors, we expect that will have a sound knowledge of the T2S world, in particular of the migration. Then we can go up to migration objective and constraints. So migration is a big bang. A big bang because suddenly, from the night to day, we will have a new house, a new home. And then all our businesses will move to this new building, new platform. We have to keep this clearly in mind, and then we need to know which are the consequences of this big bang. And we need to know, once again, knowledge is key for a successful migration. We need to know which are the constraints of this migration, not only from the technical point of view, but mainly from the business point of view, risks and so on. Then we go to system service and organization readiness. As simple as it may seem, everyone should be ready. And so everyone, meaning service providers, clients, but should be ready. If you think of a bank, then at the internal of the bank there are many players, meaning treasury, back office, front office, middle office, and whatever. It depends on how you are organized, but maybe every one of these different actors has a stake or could have a stake in the migration process. Okay, so keep it in mind. Everyone should be ready. Then we have got synchronization point and roles definition. As we have heard this morning, we are currently planning this kind in order to have a shared approach to the migration process, and everyone should be perfectly aware of its own role. So that's another key point. And then we will end with a migration plan definition, where we will have together, so a common and shared vision of all the synchronization points and all of the roles we need to perform a successful migration. These are our expectations. Basically, sound knowledge of the overall T2S world, in particular the migration, and awareness of each role, responsibilities, and obviously of the risks and constraints of the migration process. What do we do, and what we have offered so far? Sorry, let me skip. Okay. Basically, Monte Titoli is attend not only the user testing subroute and the migration subroute in the T2S, but also DMG, DPMG, DAG, and many other working groups and government bodies that are set up for this project. So we are really heavy working in this project, also because we are in wave 1, so we need to be ready. Then we have set up some working groups with our clients, in particular a working group dedicated to the testing and migration topics. And this group is active since 2012, meaning quarter 4 of 2012. We have already had some meetings, and in those meetings we try to share knowledge because it's fundamental. We deem it as a fundamental element. And so we are showing to our clients and share with our clients possible problems that we need to find a solution when migrating. Meaning, a client which has now in Monte Titoli some configuration can decide to change when going into T2S. Maybe they would like to change their settlement agent, they would like to change their cash agent, they would like to change both, they would like to change, I don't know, their asset servicing agent and so on. They would like to change. We need to manage it because, as we said, T2S is seen as a business opportunity. And so we need to allow this, and we are discussing such topics with our clients in order to be prepared for the migration. Then obviously we have also some other working groups, so this is not the only working group we have with our clients. We have legal groups, we have operational groups, we have got a functional group and so on. So we have prepared, we have set up some public meeting with our clients in order to illustrate our approach to T2S. We have also set up some meetings because they have required us with the service provider of our clients. So we are doing basically all of these in order to share the knowledge, as I've said, and in order that everyone will be prepared for this big bang. Thank you for your attention. If you've got any question, I'm available.
Thank you very much, Fernando and Paolo. Maybe join us here and we're open for questions. What are your questions to both Paolo and Fernando? No question from the floor? Maybe a question to Caroline then, because both of them were making a lot of publicity about what they are doing with their clients. So you are one of their clients. Are you happy with what they are doing in the Italian market in terms of support? I think
that it's quite a good way, the Italian way, because there are quite a constructive discussion between all the participants. Also, I would say the CSD, CCP, Banco of Italia, and the participants. And I think that there are many exchanges on the Italian market and really constructive remarks on the user requirements, etc. So I think that's quite either bilaterally, I would say, and either.
Yes, I forgot to say that we have also had bilateral meetings with almost everyone, so it's really heavy work for us.
I think that it's quite well working. We have the quite same approach on the French market with many market discussions about the different topics.
Okay, thank you, Caroline. Then a question to Paolo and Fernando. So you said that you are still confident and not yet worried by the fact that you are in wave 1. So, and you are doing all this effort to have your community ready with you. What about the other CSDs in Wave 1 with you? Are you a bit more scared about their readiness, and irrespective of whether you are worried or not, what would be the implication of such an event if one of the other CSDs that are planning for being in Wave 1 with you does not make it? Would this have an impact?
Currently, we have in place a link with SAS, so we have not got any other link with other Wave 1 CSDs. So if apart SAS, any of the other CSD won't be able to go live, we are not worried about this. And we are thinking how to deal with the possible not successful go live of SAS, but still we are not worried, because we are also discussing this topic in the migration subgroup. So it's something that we are sharing among us.
So apart from that, I'd say that of course, the involvement of CSD, which do not often participate to the UTSG, like others that I don't want to mention now, can be of concern for us. And the point is that the involvement of these, even on a bilateral or trilateral or multilateral way anyway, outside the UTSG formal occasion, is a bit of a challenge because of the workload that it may impose. Let's say that the first occasion where we can try to see what is the reaction of the others is now with the definition of the test plans. So I think that this is the starting point where we will test which is the reaction of the other components of Wave 1 to make sure that the material that we have to prepare is prepared in common with the others. Beyond that, I don't think that I have a direct responsibility with other CSDs.
Thank you. Just to assure the audience, we don't expect that other CSDs are delayed or that they do not make it. Just in case we were asking, I was asking the question to stress again the need or the message that you wanted to share with the audience on the fact that everyone has to be ready. You mentioned your link with SAS, but I will not exclude that SAS has other links with other CSD in Wave 1. So maybe indirectly, even though you have the link only with SAS, if other CSDs are not there, SAS will be impacted and their SAS may impact you. So in any case, even if we have the feeling that we are far or independent from each other in this task, very quickly we realize the opposite, that we'll find rather a short chain from one point to another that will create dependency. And it's very important to have permanent coordination and follow up about the different progress in order to make sure that we are all working hand in hand and progressing and on track to make it for the start of T2S.
So good afternoon, everybody. I'm the last one. I can tell by your eyes that I have to be fast, so I'll promise I will do my best to keep it as short as possible. So a few words about myself. My name is Emanuele Urbinati. I work in Banco d'Italia on T2S division. I'm not Mr. User Testing like Paolo, but I'm one of the 4CB test managers. And so I prepare a couple of slides trying to answer the questions that Mehdi raised. First of all, what are the 4CB expectations in the user testing and migration phases? This is a sort of wish list. So it's not the right time of the year to prepare a wish list, but maybe the weather is more or less like Christmas here. So the first point, I guess, is the crucial one. We need to ensure that we are able to build trust and cooperation among all the different players and T2S actors. When I say we have to build this, I mean that, of course, this is a process, and this is something we have to build day by day. And to do so, and to do that at every level, so at the level of test managers, but also at the level of different testing teams in the different T2S actors, probably we also need to define clear processes. And we have to define also different roles and responsibility among the different T2S actors. For example, in the way we manage all the incident and defect processes, or in the way we manage the release and deployment process. What else? On our side, it would be very important to understand how the CSD and the central banks are translating their business model into test scenarios and test cases. This would help us to better answer and to provide a better support to them. And what else? Finally, of course, considering that the framework agreement leaves a certain degree of, let's say a sort of gray area between the different groups and some overlapping between the UTSG and the MSG and the other group, what we need to, what we would like to ensure is to have a strong cooperation and strong interaction between the different groups. What, as 4CB, we are doing on our side? Of course, we have a starting point, which is the target 2 support we delivered during the last 7 years. And we are adapting this model, the organizational model, to the specific needs of T2S. For example, we are putting in place some dedicated service manager to the needs of specific CSDs and central banks. And of course, we are organizing ourselves to manage in parallel 4 different test environments, plus the production once Monte Titoli will go live and the first wave of CSD will go live. What else are we doing on our side? Of course, we are developing some specific tools for managing the phases of testing and migration. For example, the snapshot tool and the liquidity transfer utility to emulate the RTGS system, meaning T2, when T2 is not connected to one of the test environment of T2S. And of course, we're also delivering a specific tool for migration that will be also used during testing phase, which is the data migration tool. On our side, we're also trying to closely cooperate with all the different players, trying to identify in a timely manner all the risks and the limitation of the system, and to try to overcome this limitation, and to see how it is possible to thoroughly test the system. And of course, finally, last but not least, we are committed to deliver a stable software which is fully compliant with the user requirements and the expected functionalities.
Thank you, Emanuele.
I promise I was fast.
What are your questions to Emanuele? You can join us here in any case. Questions? Maybe a basic one. So, how confident are you about the last bullet point? So, the same answer as everyone. So, how confident are you in the ability of the 4CB to deliver on time for the migration?
I'm absolutely confident on that. There's no other answer.
He's crossing his fingers. Eh?
No.
Okay, any question to any member of the panel? They are still with you. Then please, I mean, thanks to the whole panel for your participation and your presentation. If you have any feedback you would like to share already with us, or any impression about the info session, I'm happy to hear this. Any opinion or anything that you would suggest for next time? As I said, we'll try to organize this type of event on a recurrent basis, so probably there will be another one soon. Was this the right format? Anything you'd like to change? Anything you would like us to cover in more details? No? Nothing live? Okay. So please don't. I mean, I understand that. So it's important for us to receive this type of feedback. So it's we received orally some during the break. So about additional ideas for the future and to what extent this info session was helpful. I hope it was the case and that it is bringing the right level of information, at least as a start. But any feedback from you will help us a lot in organizing the next ones, if you manage to do so, to maybe put more stress on specific topic or to potentially change the format if needed and appropriate. Don't hesitate to send us this. You have, I think, our email addresses, so don't hesitate to use them. We're happy to adapt in case of need. Thank you to all of you for your participation and for those are actually also following us on the internet. Once again, I hope that it was useful and see you next time. Enjoy the summer break for those who will have the luck of having holidays. Sorry?
We're having summer.
It's not fair, Emanuele, to come from Rome and to make bad joke on the weather in Frankfurt. It's too easy. It's too easy for you. Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice evening and see you soon. Yes.